They found him on the shore, half dead and sunburnt, washed in like driftwood. They didn't know what he was. They didn't know what he'd become. This is the story of the castaway god, and the island where no gods sleep. He washed in with the tide. The breakers rolled him in slow, like a thing forgotten, water coughing from his lungs. He lay there long after the waves had done their work, the sun a hammer against his skin, the surf reaching, retreating, as if deliberating whether to take him back. He was alive. He lifted his head and saw the ruin of his ship. Boards splintered and scattered across the shore. The wind laughed at the torn cloth of the sails. The mighty ship, gone. The crew, gone. The Lady Esther was no more. There was only him, her captain. The island rose before him in tangled green. Birds crying from the black depths of the jungle. The air thick with rot and wet earth. A paradise. No, it was a prison, and the sun, its cruel warden. For days he wandered, calling into the hush, hearing nothing. He built a lean-to from driftwood and palm fronds, dug roots from the soil and strung traps for fish. Time passed like slow bleeding. Each morning, the sun stretched its yellow and orange limbs across the sky, readying for another day of searing torture. He prayed to a god he barely remembered, prayed for salvation, but the horizon stayed void. Then, one day, the wind carried voices. At first, he thought it madness. Then, he saw it, a long, black canoe carving through the waves. Its prow, a snarling beast. Oars worked in rhythm, men bent and straining, painted faces, spears like teeth. He did not wish to greet them. His feet slipped in the sand as he fled, up through the jungle, thorns tearing at his skin. He found a hollow in the rock and pressed himself inside, breath held tight in his chest. The warriors came ashore, dragging the dragon canoe, walking the sand with measured steps, their faces streaked with ochre, necklaces clattering with bones. They shouted something at the sky, spears raised as if they claimed the island. They drank from his stream, gathered fruit from his trees, gutted his fish. Then they found his shelter. He watched from the hills, heart a drum in his ribs. The men spoke low, in a language he could not know. Fear gripped him, but they did not search for him. The sea called them back. They pushed out into the waves and vanished. But he knew they would return, not tomorrow. No, but soon. Perhaps to hunt him. That night, he made his decision. He could not stay. By daylight, he worked, hands raw, muscles screaming. He lashed logs with twisted vine, built a raft, crude and spare. Each morning, he feared the black canoe's return, but the sea remained quiet. At last, the raft was done. Under moonlight, he dragged it to the tide. The sea took him, bore him away. But the ocean, it is a cruel thing. The sun burned his flesh. The thirst gnawed at his throat. He rationed what little he had, but there was never enough. Days stretched long, nights longer. He lay upon the water, unmoving, his mind an echoing void. Then, land. He paddled with the last of his strength. The tide took his raft just as his mind began to slip away. His body spilled onto the sand like something discarded. He saw nothing but shadows, then heard voices, felt hands lift him from the sand. When he woke, he lay in a hut much more skillfully made than his own. A woman knelt beside him. She pressed a cool cloth to his head, her eyes dark and unreadable. He heard others nearby, outside the hut. The elders had come, wrapped in red, faces carved with time. They chanted, their eyes filled with awe. A prophecy. A pale man from the sea was foretold, they proclaimed. A god has come, sent to bring them peace and happiness forever. They clothed him in silk, draped beads upon his neck, traced symbols on his flesh. They gave him the grandest hut, the richest food, the most beautiful women. He was worshipped. For the first time since the wreck, he did not long for home. He lived among them. Days passed like a dream. He dined on fruit and meat, drank honeyed wine. When he passed, they knelt. When he spoke, they listened. But the woman who had nursed him did not kneel. Her eyes saw more. At night, she whispered to him in her own tongue, fingers tracing his scars. In time, he learned her words. She taught him their ways. Then, one morning, they saw it. All of them. White sails on the horizon, the crest of his homeland on the flag. They had come for him. He stood on the shore. The people gathered behind him, their trust in their eyes. He looked at them, then at the ship. If he left, he would be nothing. Just a man, stripped of divinity. He turned and spoke, fire in his voice. These men, he said, they have come to take your land, your women, your lives. You must kill them. Cleanse your island of this evil that has come for you. As he hoped, they believed him. That night, the warriors descended. The sand turned red. They rowed to the tall ship and set it alight, firelight painting the entire bay red too. When it was done, he stood among the men. He smiled at them. The scent of blood thick in the air. Then first, one looked at him strangely. Then another. The elders came, looked over the scene of death on the shore. The oldest stepped forward. The men you called evil, he said, they looked like your kin. Silence. If they were evil, he said, then so must you be. He opened his mouth, but no words came. The whole village gathered. They stared at him, eyes now empty of devotion. The elders conferred in hushed voices, then gave the order. The warriors seized him, bound him, dragged him to a hut, left him in the dark. That night, the woman came. Silent as tide, she slipped in, cut his bonds, led him through the sleeping village. They stole a canoe, paddled quietly out into the darkness until they disappeared. The next day, the elders found the hut, empty. They ordered the warriors to scour the island, but their search was in vain. He was not to be found. Whispers spread. He had been a god after all, a miracle. Our God has left us, one elder said, weeping. He has ascended. said another. "We are not worthy." So they raised a monument in his name, carved his face into stone, prayed for his return. But the true gods of the island had not been sleeping. It was they who had drawn the tall ship to their shore, to take the man away, to cleanse the island of the impostor so their people would turn back to them. He was gone, and yet the islanders still worship the false god. Fools all. The god's wrath was swift. A hurricane rose, a great black beast from the sea. The wind howled. Waves leapt the shore and devoured all, village, prayers, people. Trees ripped from the earth, huts shattered like twigs. When the storm passed, only silence, raw and empty. Only stone remained. Weeks passed. The castaway and the woman drifted. Hunger gnawed. Thirst clawed. Provisions long gone. They drank each other's urine, cut their own flesh. A fingertip raw between the teeth. At last, from bleeding eyes, land. The man, cast away for the third time, poured out on the shore. He lifted his head, caught his breath. The woman, she was not beside him. She was not on the raft, but floating down the shoreline. He reached for her, but the tide swelled. Foam lapped her face. Water pulled her limbs, carried her away. The woman that had saved him, taught him, loved him, gone. The god's vengeance, unyielding. He found a fish in the shallows, bloated and lifeless. He tore into it raw. Salt and rot met his tongue, but soon some strength returned. Enough to move, enough to search. This island was desolate, barren, but familiar. Then he came upon it. The statue, his own face, carved in stone, silent, eternal. He fell to the ground and wept. "You are what I have become," he said. "You are not stone, but a mirror." The gods of the island saw him and laughed.